Hi, folks. As I mentioned in a recent blog post, I have not had time to do anything this summer that I had planned to do, at least when it comes to mushing tech and looking at race data and coming up with some interesting analyses. I have done nothing. Um, but it occurred to me that a lot of you have your own questions that you'd like to ask about the data, and you'd like to be able to look at the data yourselves. So I've made the spreadsheets that I've developed available online through Google Drive. These are in the form of Google Spreadsheets. They are readable by anybody. And in this demo, I'm actually using a different account from the one I used to create them, so that my permissions right now that I'm showing you are the same that you'll have when you look at the file. I haven't figured out a way to embed a URL, a clickable URL in a video. So for the time being, I'm going to include the URL in on my Facebook page and in a blog post about this so that you'll be able to click directly to the directory containing the spreadsheets. Okay, so here we have the directory, the folder containing the spreadsheets in Google Drive. The default layout is one I really dislike. It's basically thumbnails, but I can click on List View and get a list view. So as you can see, I have spreadsheets for a lot of different races. Most of them are complete. Some of them are not. This is, use at your own risk. These data come from a variety of places, for very well-known races like the Iditarod and the Yukon Quest and so on. The data come from the race websites, they come from newspapers and Twitter feeds, and there's a lot of different places you can get the data. In a few cases, these are the actual spreadsheets that were used by the races as they were underway, but in most cases they weren't. So we'll take a look at a fairly recent race. We'll look at Yukon Quest 2014. Basically scroll down, click, and here's another recent change to Google Sheets that I really don't like. When you click, it brings up this default interface that's kind of not very useful. But if you move your mouse up, and you'll see some menu items across the top that actually look a little bit like Android, which is interesting. This little box with the with the arrow is a pop-out, and this will take you to the real spreadsheet. And that's what's happened here. So basically, what we have here is one sheet per checkpoint. This one's not complete, it looks like, for which I apologize. Okay, so it's not complete yet. I'll get the rest of the data in there at some point. But in the meantime, it does give you a sense of how these spreadsheets work. So the start, it shows you the bib number, musher's name, departure time, and then I included the start differential because it's something that's often of interest to, when people are trying to figure out current standings. Okay, so if I go to like central, here it shows again bib number, musher, their arrival time, the run time from the previous checkpoint, the speed from the previous checkpoint, the rank, the time at which they left, the amount of rest they took, and the start differential, because again, I think this is something that's going to be interesting to people. So the question is, how can you use these data yourself? Well, there's a couple of different ways. One that I don't recommend at all is to just basically select a range of cells, copy, and paste. Don't do that. There are a number of other options as well. Probably the easiest thing to do is just make a copy, and that will make a copy in your own Google Drive folder, right? So that you'll have your own copy that you can use to, you can change things, you can manipulate the data, you can edit the sheet, it's your data to do as you wish. So that's probably the most straightforward thing to do. There are several other options as well. For example, you can download as a number of different formats. So you can download the entire thing as a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, an open document format, so that if you're using OpenOffice, That's an option as well. PDF format, this is not so great. I mean, this is for display purposes largely. It doesn't give you the same opportunity to manipulate the data yourself. Comma separated values and tab separated values. This is this is a really useful way to do it because if you copy it, you can then import it into um, you can import it into the R statistical package, other statistical packages. The Python programming language has a CSV package that you can also use to import TSVs and so on. The caveat about doing that is that it only downloads the current sheet, so you have to step through each sheet and make a copy. Another possibility that is really for people who are already programmers is that you can use a Google Data API or a Google Spreadsheets API from your favorite programming language, whether that's Python. I've been using the GData API. I know that R has one. I believe that Go has one. I know that there's a JavaScript one, which is probably like the worst choice ever. But but there are some options. So basically, as I said, I've got some things that I want to do with these data, but I know you've got things you want to do with these data as well. You've got questions that you want to answer. So please feel free to look at these to make your own copies, to do some analyses on them, to especially to write up whatever it is that you find using these data. But basically, they're yours to play with. As always, just give credit where give credit, but to Mushing Tech. But beyond that, you know, feel free to copy and have fun with it. All right. Well, thank you very much. And future spreadsheets will show a few things that you can do for yourself in terms of simple calculations around averages and standard deviations and maybe some simple plotting and so on. But for the meantime, I just wanted to show you where they were and how you can get to them.